Big Brother.
So let's start off, Big Brother. This is week 7 for us. We should talk about what we discussed last week, where it was Tyler and Ian, and it was our first week where we both chose different people that were going to be evicted.
And
You chose Tyler,
by the way.
I chose Ian. And it was very sad the way it happened. So Ian and Tyler were on the block, and we were talking about how this was going to be the first time in a long, long time where the head of household was going to have to make the decision to break the tie, 4-4. But Ian's closest friend and closest ally in the house voted him out. Nicole, you beach. So poor Ian went, and, you know, it's sad to see that happen, but I really enjoyed when he went out to talk with Julie, and Julie was just in awe of him. Like, just, he's classy. I like what she said about him.
Yeah, me too. And I kind of got that impression too. I think that he's earned the respect. And, you know, you're right. I didn't see, there's a couple things I didn't see happening. I for sure didn't see Nicole flipping the way she did. But like Ian and everybody else in the house, I totally fell for Danny's gunning for Tyler. I totally thought she was gunning for Tyler. And then we see at the episode, they flash back and she's like, I just said that just to make everything fine. There's no way I'm voting. So even if it would have been a tie, Ian still would have went home.
Right? No, I believe Danny legitimately wanted Tyler out of the house, but she did not want to go against the entire committee alliance right now to do it.
And I thought she was. I thought she was ready to flip the script and get it done, but she just wasn't.
She wasn't. So Ian went home, and then there was an HOH competition of building a fire hydrant puzzle, and lo and behold, the worst person won the HOH. And we thought, Matt and I have been talking about this person, how at the beginning of the show he was such a prick, and he was just, and he still is, but he just kind of lied low for a long time. And then in this week so far, he has got back to even worse of a prick. So who won the HOH, Matt?
Our good friend Memphis Barbecue won. You know, and it's one thing I gotta, as much as I can't stand the guy as gameplay. I don't know him personally. I can't stand the way he plays the game and some of the things he's done. But it seems like he could win everything if he wanted. It's like he's been, like you said, he's been laying low, and all of a sudden he's like, you know what? I need to get some things done. Let me get a little head of household going on. And he goes out there and wins.
Like by a lot.
By a lot. It's almost like he's let everybody else win everything until now. He only wins when he needs to. So you gotta give him props for that.
Right. So Memphis won HOH, and now we have to go back to the Ian Tyler debacle, because what we didn't see last week came up this week in a big way, where we thought it was going to be a split vote and Danny was going to have to break the tie. So you had Kevin, Davonne, David, and Nicole voting for Ian to stay, and then you had the rest of the house voting for Tyler to stay, with Danny breaking the tie. However, David, in his idiotic gameplay, has just lost the trust of everyone, even like those close to him. And he went around campaigning for Ian to stay in the house, to vote Tyler out. And nobody believed him when the vote was not that way. Danny did not break the tie. Nicole voted him out. It was 5-3. So Nicole and Danny conspired against David in a horrible fashion. Now everybody's really pissed at David. We saw David, who's really kind of low key, explode. Like, so what do you think about this? Like, because I'm torn a little bit both ways, because David's a horrible game player, but man, they really got him here.
Right. And we've said this. We started out in the David camp, and then we just started getting blown away by the idiotic decisions he's been making and the things that he's done. And it's like the boy who cried wolf. You can only lie so many times and then not expect somebody to believe you later on. I feel sorry for David now because Davonne has really just, I mean, she was blasting him. I think she's going to feel bad when she rewatches this because he really did have her back, and she is not even giving him a chance to explain. She is so upset at him. So I feel bad for David. And I think Nicole feels bad too. She's not going to step up and take the blame. But I think once it's all done, everybody rewatches this. I got a feeling Davonne's going to reach out to David and go, dude, I am really sorry.
All the evidence is against him.
Oh, I can't. I don't blame Davonne in this situation. I mean, I said, he hasn't been honest up to this point. Why should she all of a sudden just believe him in this instance? I mean, Nicole is telling her what she did. They know Kevin didn't vote for Ian, so it only makes sense that David would. Right. So if you look at the past conversations, Davonne is obviously going to believe Nicole over David. But I feel sorry for both of them when it all comes out.
Yeah, no, it's I do feel sorry when it both comes out too. But I think Danny is like completely evil. Like the thing that she said when she said, like, I just feel so good. Yeah, like it feels good to be on the winning side. I'm like, oh God, horrible. But Nicole's also that way too. Like, I cannot believe she didn't vote to keep Ian. It doesn't make sense to me. But Dave, man, and just to watch it all unfold into like a pretty big mess of things with David and them laughing about it. Oh man, I know. I feel terrible. I feel terrible that nobody believes David, but it's earned that they don't believe him. But he's just an idiotic game player.
That's his fault. He's totally his fault. If this would have happened week one, there would be no reason for them not to believe him.
Right.
But he's set a precedent in the way he's played this game and the things that he has said. It's hard to believe the guy.
Yes, I agree. And so that drama has going on in the house, and then Memphis made a deal with David that cements Memphis as one of the most evil players in history. Like, David is such a terrible game player. He might be the worst in history that he can't see the writing on the wall and wants to make a deal with somebody who does not like him whatsoever. So it's really funny to see how this unfolded. But Matt, after the HOH happened, David was pretty sure he was going to go up on the block. So he goes to Memphis in the HOH room, and what happened?
He goes in there, and Memphis, kick back, as always, like the big mafioso guy that he is, strikes this huge deal with David and says, look, here's what I'm going to do. If you will guarantee me that you will not win the veto, and if you do, you will keep my nominations the same, I will make sure you don't get on the block. And he tells him this whole thing about, I've got this master plan, and I'm going to shake this house up. This is what Memphis is saying to David. And you're not a part of that. You're not going to be on the block, but I need you to guarantee so that my plan plays out that you don't mess up my nominations. So he's telling David pretty much, here's our deal, shake on it. You won't be on the block if you promise not to knock out my nominations. And David, of course, was like, oh, yeah, okay. So he falls right into Memphis's plan. And Memphis's plan the whole time is David. David has been in Memphis's sights since day one. And now David thinks all of a sudden he's going to come to him and say, I need your help, buddy.
And they don't talk. They've said they don't talk. Yeah. And why take this deal? So, so Memphis's plan, legit plan, is to backdoor David. Hopefully somebody wins the veto and uses it that he can control, and then he'll put up David, and then everybody will vote David out. Because I think everybody wants David out right now. Because if he put up David first, he would have the chance to take himself off, where now he really doesn't. So, but Memphis put up Kevin for the fourth time and Davonne again. And it says something about Kevin that it just doesn't seem like he's playing the game. However, he's surviving everything. So
He is the ultimate pawn. I think everybody knows I can put Kevin up and I can use him as an empty seat filler to get my business done, because they know, one, he's not going to win any kind of, more than likely not going to win the vetoes. He's not going to wrestle, or take any sort of power. So they can use him as a little chess piece. He's just a little pawn. They just move around and do with what they want. I feel bad for him. He's got to feel devastated that he's constantly being put up. And Davonne too. I mean, again, it's one of those things when you see people who have bad motives and they try to hide it. And then you see people with bad motives and they just don't care. They just blatantly put it out there. I mean, Memphis has no issues or no guilt or nothing about constantly picking on minorities and people of color. It's like, all right, David, Bailey, Davonne, Kevin, these are the people I'm after.
And
he doesn't even try to pretend that he's
and
not.
the nerdiest one of all, Nicole Anthony of the house, like the big, strong, muscular guy in the house went after, arguably, like the stereotypical jock after like the small little nerd and got her out.
No, he was after Kazar. He was just I mean, he doesn't even pretend not to have that agenda. He doesn't even try to hide it at all. So.
He does not. No, it's really weird. Really strange. So this is Memphis's plan to get David out. And it was just done in a sinister way. And I'll tell you, Matt, the only person that I am rooting for in this house until the end is Davonne. I know she ain't going to do it, but she's the only person that seems to be like a genuine person.
Yeah, I agree.
Left in the house.
Davonne's I've always been in her camp. I wanted to bring Nicole and Danny into that fold because I thought at one point they were trying to do something legit and trying to maybe turn and create some of this lower feminine alliance and do some smart things, but I can't even root for them now. So yeah, Davonne, to me, I mean, even Enzo's kind of getting on my nerves. Enzo seems he seemed at first to be one of those that would stand up he wouldn't follow anybody's agenda other than his own and would do what's right with those in the house. But even he seems kind of, not really.
He's just going along with the ride. Like we've been saying for the whole time. He's along for the ride. He's there to have fun.
And dude, he sucks at puzzles.
Yes, he does.
He had like 2 pieces of that fire hydrant together.
That was really funny.
It was so funny.
Yeah, he admitted that. And so let's talk about the horrifying actions and just poor personality of Christmas.
Oh, my word.
We saw Christmas a couple weeks ago just act like a 3-year-old. Like she was awful, terrible. You don't want to be friends with her in real life. And then that came to fruition again when Davonne picked her for a have-not.
I know. All she did was say, I mean, you got to pick somebody in the house. And Davonne picked Christmas to be a have-not, which everybody's been picked. Everybody's had a chance to do that. And dude, Christmas, you would have thought that
like they killed her family.
Something that she would have I don't know, Davonne would have made some kind of, I mean, more than just like, you got to go sleep in the have-not and eat some slop. I mean, Christmas legitimately, her dark side came out. And again, this wasn't the Christmas we saw the first couple of weeks.
No.
I think she feels empowered because of the way that Danny and Memphis and other people in the house have been acting. She now feels like, well, hey, I don't have to pretend anymore. None of these people are pretending. So I can act as just horrible as I want against other people. And nobody's going to judge me for it because everybody in here is acting like this. So I think we're seeing the real Christmas.
Yeah.
The first couple of weeks. And that bothers me because, man, again, Christmas seemed like to me the kind that would kind of pull for the underdog, that she would rally around some of those that maybe are on the outskirts and say, hey, let's come together and take on the people who have been, metaphorically ruling the world. Let's get some girl power going. Let's get some underdog power going and take on the Memphises and the Codys and the Tylers of the world. But she won't. Her, Danny, Nicole F. all seem to just be drawn in by this power that Memphis and Cody have. It
doesn't make sense to me. Yeah. It is very unsettling. And I can't believe Cody even acted like a little child too. Like
They
more, I
all are.
think,
A bunch
more
of
think,
babies.
yeah, because he made all the tacos and he couldn't eat the taco.
That was funny though.
Christmas
That
took
was
it
funny.
personally. And Davonne, said in the diary room, like, look, you put me up and Bailey up and you got my best friend out in the house for no
Right.
reason whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. It's like if your neighbor came over and shot your dog,
Yeah.
and then the next day you like did something to their trash can. They were like, "Oh, can't believe you moved my trash can to the other curb." It's like, well, you
Yeah.
shot my dog, man. Like it's like they don't see their actions resulting in these things. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I'm not a
Go
fan of
ahead.
Christmas. Not a
Nope.
fan of Christmas.
Nope.
I'm not a fan of really anybody in the house but Davonne. I
Yep.
like
Davon.
Tyler okay, and I like
I
Kevin
did.
okay, but I just their gameplay Kevin doesn't have any gameplay, and Tyler just I feel like it seems like Tyler had like a breakdown. He got homesick or something that he didn't want to stay in the
Yeah.
house. He wanted to, and it just all just down spiraled for him. But now he's back there, but he's on the wrong side of things.
He is, and Tyler, bless his heart, is so naive, and I don't think he's self-conscious, or he doesn't have enough self-esteem. Maybe in some areas. Again, I think he was one of those people that were maybe grew up on the outskirts, and now to be embraced by the cool guys. I think he's just enamored by that, and I think he has a hard time fighting against that. I think his conscience bothers him, but like Enzo, maybe he just realizes that, man, I'm safer right now if I don't stir the water. Because, I mean, Tyler and Enzo have to know, and Danny and Nicole as well. Once the Kevin and the Davids and the Davons are gone, who are they going to go after? You think
Themselves, they have
Tyler?
to.
Yeah.
It's
You
going to be
think Tyler? You
Danny or
think
Nicole, I bet, and it's going to
exactly?
be yeah.
So 2 weeks ago, they should have recognized that and said, why don't we rally around and create a 5 alliance of a Danny and Nicole and Davonne, David, and Ian and Kevin. That's 6 strong. They could have totally obliterated Memphis and Cody and Tyler if they would have done that. But they just, for
Like
some reason,
I'm going to
they were
say this right
scared.
now with Ian being in the house first, and if Davonne goes, if Kevin goes, if David goes, and then it's left, and then Danny and Nicole go to the jury house, and it's left with Cody, Memphis, Enzo, and Tyler. I guarantee you, Enzo's going to win the game because people
Oh,
have beef with
absolutely.
Cody, people have beef with Memphis, and a lot of people have beef with Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
I think Enzo might win this game. I mean, I kind of
And I
hope
would still
so.
be okay. He's bothering me right now. I kind of like the guy. I like the way he plays. He's done some things that I'm not a fan of. I'm more of a fan of what he hasn't done than what he has done.
Yeah.
But I would be fine if it came down to those 4. I would be fine with Enzo winning that game.
I would be very
He's
upset if
amazing.
Cody or Memphis win. Oh
Oh
my
my
God.
word!
We can't even talk about that
But
right now.
what are even the odds though that at this point, with Ian being gone and with Kevin and Davonne still being a target, I mean, what are the chances that we're going to have a woman even make it to the Final Four? I mean, I
I don't
think
think
they've
it's going to
lost their
happen.
chances. I think they lost all of the momentum that they could have gained, and I don't know how they're going to get it back.
Yeah, I don't think they are because if you heard Danny, Nicole, and Christmas without Davonne in a tub saying they should form a girls thing. But
Mm-hmm.
there's way more guys than there are girls right
Yeah.
now. And
Yeah.
they're not – I don't see it happening. Although it would be nice to –
unless there is a ray of hope that could happen tonight that would change the momentum of this game. But
which would be what?
It's a very slippery slope, and it's not, the percentage is not high. But if you see what I see, there's a chance that some paradigm shift could come in and move. What do you think I'm talking about? Do you have any idea?
Okay, so we have Davonne and Kevin up on the block. I'm trying to think right now what your theory is here. Like who's going to win a veto, who would take themselves off.
Play this out. If we see David and Memphis have their little discussion and a little handshake, let's say David goes ahead and gets picked for the veto and wins.
Mm-hmm.
David has to say, okay, do I keep my promise to this guy who's been gunning me for day one Or do I take this opportunity right now to show and finally prove to Davonne my loyalty by pulling her off the block? If David was to be smart enough to not give a crap what Memphis wants and to pull Davonne off, that means that Memphis has to replace Davonne and can't replace her with David. So he can't backdoor David because David just won the veto.
Mm-hmm.
So who does he put up then?
I guarantee you he'll put up Nicole or Danny.
Okay, and he puts up Nicole or Danny. So now it's Kevin against Nicole or Danny. The Alliance aren't going to vote against Nicole or Danny. So they're going to vote Kevin out.
Yep.
Okay, so Kevin leaves. So this still gives now, Davonne is still in the house. She can go to the Nicole and Danny's and go, look, we're all being played here. This is our chance. Okay, one of you just got put up there. You're part of a committee that doesn't care about you. Now is our chance. So then I think that's the pathway for Danny to get Nicole. I mean, for Davonne to get Nicole and Danny into her threesome, and then David will follow suit. So that's 4 against still 5, but I think that's still an opportunity for them to make a move.
I think David is such a poor Big Brother player that he is going to go with Memphis and not.
You think so?
I think he's that idiotic. I think he's that big of an idiot.
This is a guy that's been. How can you trust the guy that's been gunning for you for day one? How can you honestly believe that he's got your best interest?
I would be shocked if he won the veto and took Davonne off. It ain't going to happen. He is going to keep the
wants to prove his loyalty. It's important to David, win or lose, that Davonne know his loyalty. It's important. And right now, the fact that she is so upset with him, I think would be a motivating factor for him to prove that.
I think it's the opposite. I think he's he hasn't proven anything else.
David's going home. Then there's no doubt that because you got to realize if Kevin wins Alliance, I mean, if Kevin wins the veto or Davonne win the veto, they're going to pull themselves off. David goes up. Anybody else in the committee wins, they're going to pull off Kevin and they're going to put David up.
Right.
And David goes home. So it's either going to be David winning the veto and making a move, or he's going home.
Right.
He won't survive if he doesn't make that move.
Right. So so saying that and discussing that, it's either going to be David or Danny. David or Danny going home. No, David or Kevin going home. Those are the two.
Yeah. I don't think Davonne's a target. I mean, she is a target. Memphis, again. So let's say if somebody wins the veto and doesn't pull somebody off, and it does come down to Kevin and Davonne on the block. Right. Nobody makes that move that Memphis obviously is trying to do and backdoor David.
Yeah.
I don't know if Memphis cares if of the 3 who really goes home. I know he's gunning for David, but I think he'd be just as happy if Davonne went home or Kevin went home. Yeah. So let's say everything stays the same. It goes to vote and it's Davonne or Kevin. Do you think Kevin will go?
I think Kevin will go. He's not doing anything, and I think they could use Davonne for something. But
I think Davonne scares them, though. I think her ability to finally win something and the drive that she has in the house might scare. Because I could see it maybe going, okay, let's say if Cody, Tyler, and Enzo vote for Davonne, and then Danny and Nicole and David could vote for Kevin, because David's not going to vote for Davonne. We'd be back to a 3-3 split, right? Oh, right. Christmas is in there. Christmas will vote for Davonne, obviously. She's so pissed at her right now.
Yeah.
So
what a childish thing to do.
I know. So if that's the scenario, then Davonne would go home.
Which would suck. That would be horrible.
It would be terrible. I mean, at that point, the only good part about that, if there is any good part, is they're going to finally have to start turning on themselves. I know they still got Kevin and David to kick around, but I think we're going to see finally some kind of interplosion with this group.
Right. And I'm curious when it comes to that, because it will come to that, who's going to split off, because I think it's Enzo and Tyler, and I think it's going to be Cody and Memphis. Those are going to be the four.
Yeah, I could see it would be those two, down to those two. And then it's going to come down to which one of those would be able to better sway Christmas. And I think that's Cody and Memphis. I think if it come down to both of those twosomes, and Christmas had to find a path, I think Christmas would go Cody and Memphis.
I don't think so, because Christmas and Tyler have a final two.
Oh, that's right. They do.
So I think she'll side with Tyler.
Mm-hmm. So I guess that could be a benefit for those three.
Right.
So the final five being, Christmas, Tyler, and Enzo on one side, and Memphis and Cody on the other.
It's weird. Memphis hasn't even been put up on the block yet, right?
No, you
doesn't make sense.
The fact that he's just glides under the radar until he needs to do something, and then he decides, I got to win, so let me go win. It's like he didn't even try to win that, and he won it. It's like this guy is just, and then I guarantee you, once this little manipulative plan is done, he'll disappear again. Let them start picking each other off until feels like he needs to step in.
Right.
It's like the Godfather. He's like, he lets his agents do what they need to do. And when things start getting a little out of control, he's like, let me just step in, do some things, and let me go back to read my book.
It doesn't make sense. Well, it makes sense for him, but it's frustrating, right?
Oh, it is frustrating. And it's frustrating for me. I don't know about you. It's frustrating to me because I grew up watching that happen. I grew up with me and my nerdy friends always seeing the Memphises and the Codys get their way in life, it seemed like, and they got their way in life by railroading the nerds and the band geeks and everybody else. So it's like I'm having flashbacks of things, and it's like nothing's changing. Nothing's changing inside the house than in the real world, and that's frustrating to me.
It is. No, for sure. I'm there right with you. Fellow band geek and thespian here. Clarinet and everything.
Tired of it.
I know it's annoying. And, Big Brother starts off with 16 people, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many of those people were people of color? I counted 5.
Well, we had Kazar,
David, Bailey,
Davonne, Bailey,
Kevin.
Yeah, so I guess it is 5.
5 out of 16. The rest, I don't get it.
Right.
I don't get it.
So you had 5 persons, people of color, and then you had Nicole A. and Ian, who were kind of on the spectrum and kind of nerdy. So of those 16, 7 are sort of always going to be on the outskirts, and so that left the other 9 being the strong kind of alpha males
people.
And, and you had
and they all formed alliance with each other. The
alpha male and the blonde, blue-eyed cheerleaders.
Yeah, they formed an alliance together without anybody else, and
I know
they actively went after the people of color.
They did. They went out multiple times, and then Nicole Anthony got caught in the crossfire of all that. I think because she was just an easy target, So it's just and I think who was the what was her name? Janelle. That was
Janelle.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think she was just a threat. I'm not sure why they targeted her so early.
Because they kept saying she's the queen of Big Brother.
I think she was the threat they needed to eliminate.
Which doesn't make sense. I mean, like I've said that she's a great chess player. She was just cocky the whole time.
Yeah.
It didn't show emotion, which hit her in the long run.
Yeah. Well, this will definitely be one, as much as it's frustrated me this whole season. It went from boring to frustrating to boring to frustrating, and I'm still frustrated with it. It'll be one we remember, but I think I am ready to get to a Big Brother season of newbies.
No, for sure. This is not
All-Star is a different animal.
It is, because everybody's married for the most part. They have kids.
You just want to see people hook up. You just want people to hook up.
that adds to the game too.
Love Island comes on right after. Just watch Love Island.
But that showmance adds something, because people can be in alliance, but then they have like a showmance, and you have no idea if they're going to vote one way or the other.
That's true.
But in addition to that, just to hooking up, there seems, and everybody's done Big Brother before, minus David. It seems like nobody just cares to be there, minus maybe one, or like David and Davonne. I think they're the only people that want to be there. The rest are just like, whatever. This is.
I think David wants to be there.
I know. I said David and Davonne want to be there.
I thought you said Kevin and Davonne.
No, yeah, David and Davonne want to be there.
Yeah.
So it'd be not like what's going to happen. So with the veto, I don't see David winning. I honestly think what's going to happen is that somebody's going to win the veto in Memphis's camp. They're going to pull Davonne off, and they're going to put David up, and everybody's going to vote out David.
All right. So
because if they pull off Davonne and they know the house, they know she's definitely going to vote him out.
Right. So you think Memphis will throw the competition? Because it would look weird for Memphis to win and then take off somebody he's already nominated.
Well, Does that ever happen? It's really interesting. He will throw the competition for the most part.
If he thinks one of his people will win.
Right. It would be great if he did not throw the competition and he won, and he took somebody off with the veto and put David up.
I know, because David would be like,
what?
That would be, I'd almost want to see that happen just to show David, look, this is why you couldn't trust this guy. I mean, he made a pact with you to keep the noms the same, and then he just takes it off and puts you up there. Dude, you would be the ultimate target.
I actually want to see that happen, just because it would be so funny. Because they've filmed the veto already. So if that actually happened, it's going to be a really awkward 48 hours or so to the live eviction with those two in there after that pact was made.
Mm-hmm.
Because David doesn't have a land to stand on. Everybody is in Memphis's committee. And that would be such a horrible move. That very well could happen. But my mind is David's going home this week. I think
you're right. And I think Memphis is counting on the fact that there will be, of the names drawn, there will be 3 people strong enough to win, that he doesn't have to win.
Right. Because he's thrown comps before and people have noticed it.
Yeah, he does. He just totally throws them. So I think, and see, that's another thing too, is people have commented, wow, Memphis totally threw that. Memphis has done this. Memphis has done that. But nobody goes after the guy. Nobody makes a move early on to get him out. And I think it's going to burn them all in the end.
It really will. So I think David's going home. If David wins and pulls Davonne off, Kevin's going home.
Yeah, regardless of who's the replacement. Kevin
right.
Will go home at that point.
So, but I do believe David is going home this week. And please let it happen the way we just said it was going to happen. Memphis wins, uses the veto, and puts David up there. Because his face, and it's going to be amazing. And I feel like it's going to be everybody looking at David like, you idiot. Mm-hmm. And then he's going to be alone in the house.
If so let's say between David and Davonne, if Davonne gets pulled, David goes up, it's David and Kevin. Kevin gets pulled, David goes up, it's David and Davonne. Between Kevin and Davonne, does David have a shot with either one of those to make a plea that the other person goes home? Like if it's him and Kevin, does David have enough gameplay to convince people to send Kevin home and keep him?
Not at all. Not one bit. Not 0.0.
And not even with Davonne. He couldn't go around and convince everybody, dude, obviously I'm an idiot. Davonne's a strong player. You'd be smarter to keep me than Davonne.
No, Memphis wants David out, and Memphis, what he says goes with his alliance. So there's no way they're voting him out unless all the women want a women alliance. But even then, I don't think they have the numbers to vote him out.
Right.
So I think it's David. His time has come, and he's going to go to the jury house with Ian, which will be hilarious.
Yeah. So we both agree then that if the noms stay the same, Kevin goes. If they don't stay the same, David goes.
Right.
And you don't think they'll keep Kevin over Davonne?
No. I think Kevin will go. I think Kevin will go. I think Davonne is going to stay because I think maybe the women want him there.
But Christmas,
or want her there.
Christmas is a swing in that, and Christmas can't stand Davonne right now.
I would be willing to bet Tyler could talk to Christmas and be like, "You gotta keep Davonne."
Okay, all right. Well,
that's what I'm thinking. But
Tyler doesn't really. He's kind of upset with Davonne too.
I still think he wants to make amends. I read or I saw on the live feeds that they were, they like made up and stuff like that, but I don't know. And I also saw on the live feeds a big conversation between Tyler and David in one room where, I mean, they were cursing quite a bit, but they were like, they're not yelling at each other. They were just talking gameplay and personal stuff. Yeah. And I think they were hashing out because it was David and Tyler from the beginning, and then David screwed everything up. And so I think they were hashing that out. And then, of course, David I just don't think David is not convincing whatsoever. And it's weird because he's a sales guy, allegedly, but he's never convincing in anything he says. Like, you ask him and he's not like, Matt, look at me. I did not vote her out. I didn't. But he's like, no, I didn't. No.
Why don't you believe me?
Why don't you believe me? Did you vote me out? No. Yeah. It sounds like, what? I can't believe you don't have any conviction in what you're saying.
Let me kick this trash can. That'll make you believe me.
And like, it's weird that he kept secrets from everybody that was close to him. Like everybody who was on his side. Yeah, he's a poor game player, and it doesn't make sense.
You know, but kudos to him. I mean, they considered him they brought him back for an all-star season, a guy who gets kicked out day one of his season.
I think it's a pity. It's a pity thing. They couldn't find anybody else, and they liked the fact that said he wanted to be, his goal in life was to be the first Black Big Brother guy. Mm-hmm. And so they brought him back just for a pity thing like that. And not realizing, because I'm trying to remember who said it. Was it Danny? Said, like, I'm sorry, you're not an all-star. This is your first time actually playing Big Brother. Mm-hmm. So he's never really played the game before because he was voted out day one of the last season. So I think it was a pity thing. He's not an all-star. And if he was in it last season for long enough, they would have seen that.
Yeah. You know, and it's sad. It'd be like if Kevin Hart said, you know what, I'm going to be the first Black NBA all-star. Like, sorry, dude. That's great aspirations.
No, it is.
But it's not going to happen. It's kind of like David. It's like, that's great that you want to do that, but you don't have the skills and the ability.
And nobody knew because he only played one day, and it was like a competition where it was like chance, basically. Mm-hmm. So nobody really knew. But then now people know, because, you know, this has to be an intensive interview process to get on the show. So he must be having one hell of an interview to get on. But like, seeing his stuff as the game plays out, he's in an alliance, he has like friends there, and he's blatantly lying to them, not telling them what he's doing. It's like, what are you doing? These people are on your side. You got to tell them something.
Yeah. And
then not winning comps, and then trying to act like he is winning comps, but then fails. Like, it's really funny to watch. It's like, it's just a nosedive.
I know. Poor guy.
Poor guy for sure. But oh my goodness, I still think Davonne is my favorite in this game.
Same.
I want her to win.
I'm pulling for her now more than anybody in the house. Yeah,
me too. And so, David, we're sorry. We pretty much have predicted every week correctly.
Well, you have. I was off last week.
David, you're out, I think. Oh my. So Big Brother, watch Wednesday and Thursday will be the veto and the live eviction.
Absolutely.
And be sure to listen and watch this podcast on YouTube, Big Brother Podcast, and then on the Entertainment Answer.
Yep, you can find us at Spotify and now on Amazon Podcasts.
Heck yes.